The Knee Gurus, the latest research and advice from industry experts for best practice management on knee injuries and pain. Here's your host, Bevan Collis.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Knee Gurus. I'm your host, Bevan Collis from Asia Physio, and we are back again to bring you another episode of discussions about all things knees. This week we are very excited to have a young lady by the name of Isabel Griffin join us. Izzy was doing the season last year in Niseko and unfortunately injured her knee while snowboarding. And she's gone through a pretty interesting experience, I think, over the last 3 to 6 months. So I thought for anyone else that has injured their knee in Niseko or anyone who's interested in different pathways you can take after you have sustained an ACL injury, that her story might be valuable. So let's dig in and find out a little bit about Izzy and what's happened with her knee. Izzy, thanks very much for coming on.
No worries. Thank you for having me, Bevan.
No worries. Can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up spending the season in Niseko and what you were doing there for work?
Yeah, for sure. So I was a babysitter over in Niseko for the 2024 season. And I was working with Niseko kids. So I would look after children for people who would come to visit and want to go skiing. I'd look after their children and also work at the childcare centre there in Niseko. And what drew me to Niseko was the snow. So I've been snowboarding for a while now, and the snow over there is incredible. And I just had such a brilliant season. I clocked about 50 days on the mountain before I injured my knee, and it was just incredible. So no regrets.
Amazing. And you're a snowboarder, which is actually quite unusual for ACLs. We tend to see about one snowboarding ACL for every 20 skiing ACLs. But you were having a great season, as you said, done a lot of snowboarding, and then coming into March, what happened?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I did hear that it's quite hard to sustain an injury on the snowboard, like an ACL injury. But I think I just was unlucky with what happened. So we went up to the peak one day and the snow was really good up there, the powder, and you just kind of feel so like comfortable to snowboard because you don't feel like you're going to take any fall damage or anything because the snow's so fluffy and you're so confident in your ability. And me and my friends
powder, we call it.
Pardon?
Hero powder, we call that. You can throw
That's
yourself
exactly
off anything and it's like landing in an airbag.
That was it. I was in that hero powder mode. And then we came all the way down from the powder to the park. And I guess I just hadn't changed my mindset yet. So I was hitting those jumps that I usually do, but with a bit more power. And I went over a bigger jump than I'd done in the past, going to attempt a 180. And then when I was in the air, I decided last minute that I didn't want to commit anymore. So I tried to defy gravity a little bit and spin back and physics and everything. So when I was up, I was already twisting, and then I went to twist back. And then when I landed, my knee just hit with a bit of force and in an awkward position. So my ACL just went pop.
Okay. And it was your front foot snowboarding? If you regular, it was your left knee, I guess?
Yeah, my left knee.
Yeah. Okay. And what was your initial feeling? Did you hear something go pop in your knee, or did you feel something go pop?
I didn't hear anything, but as soon as I landed, I knew something was wrong because of the force and because I couldn't actually pick myself back up after the landing. So I landed and then I couldn't get back up. I kind of just fell to my knees and then crawled to the side of the park and tried to stand up, but my leg felt like a noodle. So it wasn't that painful. It's just I couldn't actually use my leg or stand up anymore.
Yeah, that feeling of instability is a really key tell for ACLs, and you hear it many times in our clinics where people know they've done something, catch their breath on the snow. It's not that painful, and stand up, and that horrible sort of that wobbly feeling, or noodle, as you described it, is often sees people fall back down, and it's a pretty sickening feeling. And I can imagine you went through something very similar. And so, what did you do after that? Were you able to get down to the bottom of the lift by yourself, or did you need ski patrol?
Yeah, so my friends luckily were waiting at the bottom of the park run, and I did a little like not good to them because I couldn't stand back up. So they ran up, and then I was like, oh, I can still bend my knee. Like, surely I can still ride down. And I went to strap in and get up again. And then I just kind of noodled back over. So my friend, luckily, we were right near the gondola. So she helped me crutch over there, and we rode the gondola down. And then we went into the restaurant, and I was trying to process everything because I don't think I'd quite admitted to myself how bad it was. And I was like, also going through the motions of being like, oh, that might have been my last day on the hill. I don't know what happened. I'll have to go check this out. So we just sat there for a little bit. She bought me a beer, and then I drove myself to the doctor and the Niseko International Clinic, and then we got the X-ray, the MRI straight away, but it took 5 days for the results to come back.
Okay, so you went to Kuchan Hospital. For people who don't know Niseko, that's the little local hospital in the service town for Niseko called Kuchan. You managed to get to the hospital and book in for an MRI?
So I went to the Niseko International Clinic, which is more in Harafu, and then they sent me to a one-eye hospital actually, because
Okay.
there is no MRI, I don't think, in Kuchan.
There is one. There is one, but it is quite a old machine, and it's only available for a few hours a day. Um, so that was a long drive over to Iwanai to get the MRI.
Yeah.
And so what did you do in those 5 days in between your injury and while you're waiting for the MRI results? You just
So I actually was a little bit delusional in thinking that I didn't rupture my ACL. I thought it would be worst case scenario, first grade tear. So I was walking around on my leg. Um, I think I had crutches because we went to Otaru for a day as well. I was just not snowboarding, but still trying to, stay involved with my friends and get out and just not take things too seriously. um, I didn't think that I'd ruptured my ACL. So when the results came back, I was in a bit of shock. I was like, whoa, okay, this actually is a pretty serious injury.
And did they do what we call a clinical assessment at the Niseko International Clinic, where they did some special tests on your knee, and give you an idea whether they thought you might have had an ACL or not, or they pretty much just said, let's wait for the MRI and not pass make any decisions or give you any sort of idea of what you'd done until the MRI came back?
Yeah, so they did a physical assessment of my knee, and he had an assumption that it probably was something like my ACL, but I don't think he wanted to tell me like if it was a full rupture or not, because he couldn't actually tell just through the physical. He was just going to wait for the MRI. But by the time we got the MRI, there was such a big gap in between the MRI and then finding out the results. So my whole process was kind of like that, just a bit delayed.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a lot of umming and ahhing.
Yeah, I think that's an important message that people need to understand about when they've injured their knee, is that particularly if they're looking at um, trying to achieve a heal, it's like a stopwatch starts at the very moment of the injury, and there's certain markers that need to be achieved at different times post injury, and if they're not, you can lose your chance to heal your ACL actually. So anyway, so the MRI comes back. You went back to the Niseko International Clinic, and they said, was it during a consult with face-to-face consult with the doctor that they told you'd torn your ACL?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what other advice did they have for you then?
So he kind of was just holding me in my emotions in that point because I was a bit shocked. And then he offered me pretty much, conservative way of treatment, you can get a brace. We can send you to the physio if you want to do that and try to avoid surgery. It's something that you can do. Or you can get surgery. And you can either get surgery here in Japan or you can go home and get surgery. That was my first like crossroad decisions that I had to make, knowing my results.
Yep, yep.
So
And you had so it was a tough decision for you because I understand you plan to stay in Japan for a while at the end of the season.
yeah, so my aim was to get to the cherry blossoms at the end of the season and to go do some travels after the snow and to explore Japan more. So I wanted to be back up and walking and traveling, but I think coming home was the best choice that I could have made because I needed to just stay still for a while. I just had so much trauma in my leg that I just needed to rest.
Yep, yep. So after the doctor sort of explained the different decisions you had in front of you, you got the brace and booked in with us at Niseko Physio. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the next day, actually, I booked in to see Max Ria at Niseko Physio, and we discussed even more in depth about what the conservative way, the Tom Cross's protocol would mean and look for me, and actually just booking in with Dr. Tom Cross in the first place to see if my ACL was eligible to heal that conservative way, because it has to be a certain distance apart and a certain tear, and not every tear can be treated conservatively. That was my understanding. So that was the next step.
Yep. 100%. And just to clarify for listeners, when Izzy's talking about the distance apart, she's talking about the distance of the stumps, we call them, or the torn ends of the ACL. If they're too far apart, over 8 millimeters actually, then it's quite hard for them to rejoin. And it tends to be the higher force, higher velocity injuries are less likely to be the healable types. So part of the reason why skiing is such a good sport for the cross bracing protocol and healing ACLs, because so many of the ski injuries in particular are low force injuries with beginner skiers just catching an edge at low speed and a binding not releasing. However, yours Izzy sounded like a high force injury coming off a big Buddha and landing quite hard, but you had a consultation with Tom Cross, and he was able to look at your MRI slides, and that was a teleconsultation, was it, while you were still in Niseko?
Yeah. So I had a FaceTime with him. So in between that, I saw Tom Gilbert from Niseko one more time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really on board for the conservative way. And he helped me book in and do my MRIs with Dr. Tom Gilbert. And then Dr. Tom Gilbert looked at my MRIs and said, yes, about 6 millimeters.
Tom Cross, you mean? Sorry, it's confusing.
Dr. Tom Cross, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And we didn't actually have the proper MRI disc that he could look at. He could only see it through my videos that I took on my phone. We had a bit of a technology glitch there, but he was still able to say, yes, this looks like you can heal it this way. But yes, you will have to go into the brace, and yes, you will have to come home straight away and start this protocol. So that was the end decision for me to really be like, am I doing this, or am I going to stay and get surgery later?
Yep, yep. And so what was, I mean, it's one of the things that really fascinates me is this mental journey that our patients go through from, he knowing almost nothing about ACL injuries to all of a sudden rupturing their ACL and going on this huge learning curve, and then being expected to make a decision. And like I say all the time, that's metaphorical stopwatch we were talking about earlier is ticking the whole time. So you really do need to up your knowledge quickly and also make some decisions quickly. So what were the sort of pros and cons that were explained to you about surgery and that you understood and took to make your own decision, and what other sort of factors led to you deciding to try the cross bracing protocol?
Yeah. That's a good question. I tried to journal all of this and like really look at both sides, because whatever way I chose, I knew that like it's going to heal and I'm going to be okay. But I wanted to really think about the best option for my knee in the long term. And I think with surgery for me, I just heard so many stories about surgery going wrong and people not doing their physio around like surgery, and them taking from your hamstring and other vulnerable parts of your leg to redo your ACL. And it just felt a little bit intrusive, and it felt a little bit like, is this the only option? Um, Also, the way that I was brought up was always like to trust in your body and to, do the best you can to take the power into your own hands to kind of go through that process of healing. And I was also immensely curious about this process as well. I was like, you're telling me that I can heal my ACL without surgery. That's pretty awesome. Let's see if it works. Worst case scenario, didn't heal, get surgery anyway. But the loss of that is not being able to stay in Japan and not being able to do the travel that I wanted to in the moment. I'd have to come home and go through a slower journey of healing. But because I was already kind of so rattled after my injury, I think the travel afterwards would have been a bit more like, just because I had the plan there and I already had the momentum. So I just would have been doing it just because. But now I can kind of take a step back, heal, and go back when I'm ready. And I think that was mostly it. And also because of I don't have private health or anything as well. So I was weighing up my options with the public health system and coming home and just seeing what the best option was.
Yep, yep. And so, when was it that you kind of made that decision? Was it soon after your telehealth consultation with Tom Cross, where you kind of had thought, yeah, okay, I really want to try and give my ACL every chance to heal?
Yeah. So I had the consultation with Dr. Tom Cross. I have a date here on the 17th of March. So that's roughly 10 days after injury. And that's already like the timing was already escaping me. I didn't
Yep.
make snap decisions. I was very slow with my process with decisions.
Hmm.
And then the day after, I went snowmobiling in the brace. And I was like to Dr. Tom Cross, I was like, can I go snowmobiling? He's like, just try to keep your leg bent at 90 degrees and you can go. I'm like, okay. And then after that snowmobiling, I went to see Tom at Niseko Physio. And that's when I got locked in, Tom and Max. And that's when I decided. After snowmobiling, I was like, all right, I'm either going home or I'm staying here. And I think snowmobiling was a good like last hurrah of my
Yep.
season. And then I was able to be like, all right, let that go home, recover.
So can we just talk about the brace angles a little bit and the brace fitting?
Yeah.
Because these bracing protocols are a bit of a dry topic, I guess, but that's the hot topic in ACL management, is what angle causes or assists the ACL to heal the most and when you need to go into that angle. So you got the brace first from Niseko International Clinic 5 days post injury, or did you get it on that same day that you went there, or was it only after the MRI results that you got the brace?
After the MRI results, and I think it was the day after I saw. No, it was on roughly the 15th of March that I got the brace.
Okay.
So just before my consultation with Dr. Tom Cross, because I
Okay.
got it anyway, knowing that it would help snowboarding in the future, regardless of what decision I made.
100%. So you got the brace, but you hadn't restricted the range of motion. It was allowing you to bend and straighten your knee freely.
Yeah.
Um, and Max and Tom just advised that seeing it is an ACL, better to keep it bent. Is that
Yeah.
correct? And then it was only after you saw Tom Cross that you put the actual blocks in that held your knee in that bent position.
Yes, that's true. But we didn't lock me at 90 straight away because of my flight home.
Yep.
So the flight, I needed to have a little bit of range of movement so I didn't develop a blood clot. So they locked me 90 to 30 so I could still have some range. And then when I came home, that's when they locked me roughly on the 25th of March in 90 degrees for 3 weeks.
That was about 15 days post injury.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the part that a lot of people can't seem to get their head around, is spending or find quite confronting, is the thought of keeping their knee bent at 90 degrees. It seems like a quite unnatural position for the knee to be in, and seems uncomfortable and hard to live your normal activities of daily life, as well as, I guess, you've got concerns with DVT, as you talked about, as well as muscle wasting and stiffness in the knee. How did you find that experience of spending 3 weeks at 90 degrees, and what sort of aids did you use to help you get through that period?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a challenge, especially transitioning from a life that was so active and so full
Mm,
on to a life that was so immobile. And then from like lots of freedom in Japan by myself, and then back into my mum's and being looked after a lot.
mm,
But I'm so lucky that I was able to fall back on my mum and her nest and have a safe grounding foundation to be able to not work and to not do anything while I came back and got back on my feet. I just used my crutches and I just got around as minimally as possible. So just to get food or to go to the physio. I could still drive, which was really good because it was my left leg. So
yeah.
if I needed to go to the physio, I could just put my crutches in and crutch up slowly. But the main thing I was doing was just my physio exercises. I was doing my wall sits, I was doing my bridges, I was doing every single exercise to keep my quad engaged and my knee a little bit in motion,
Hmm.
because I was thinking of the long term. I was just thinking, I need to keep this knee as strong as possible and get back so I can snowboard again
Yep.
one day.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
you got through those 3 weeks, and you're going to see your local physio. Had that physio had any experience dealing with taking someone through the cross bracing protocol, or how did you find them?
Yeah, so Dr. Tom Cross actually recommended going to a physio in Paran, and her name was Dr. Jane Rooney, and she works very closely with Dr. Tom Cross.
Yep.
And then I saw Dr. Jane Rooney, and then she passed me on to her physio that works with her, called Tig Stoddart, and he was a fantastic physio. So he was just helping me lock it into place every week, release um, new exercises, and just help me progress slowly and give me emotional support as well and all the practical support. And it was a long journey, but he was a fantastic physio to go through the process with, because he was just there by my side, would explain things to me in different ways so I could fully digest it all, and was just very holistic in his approach as well.
Yep. Yep. And were you able to use the same brace you got in Japan to go through the cross bracing protocol? Because I know there's some custom wedges there, because not many braces are designed to be kept at 90 degrees, because it's such a new and novel um, principle. So how did you end up getting another brace, or was that brace from Japan okay? Was that what you used?
Yeah, I got the Breg when I was in Japan. So it's the sporting one, I'm pretty sure. And
Yep.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's zero chance of a re-rupture if you're wearing it when you're snowboarding or doing snow activities in the future.
Oh,
So that's,
well, I don't know that it's zero, but it certainly does a pretty good job of preventing ACLs, but not many people use it for that, apart from professional skiers. But most people don't think it's going to happen to them. But yeah, but um, it does do a good job of protecting the ACL. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So I got that. And then I was able to go through the whole protocol with the Breg as well. And I got the little blocks, and there was some confusion because Jane and Tig weren't too familiar with this kind of brace for the protocol.
No,
Um, but we were still able to manage to figure it out together.
yep, awesome. Okay, so you go through that 3 weeks, and then did you have a follow-up um, consultation with Tom Cross, or did you wait until the 12 weeks post-injury for that?
Well, I had a bit of a slip on the 1st of March on my crutches, and that was really scary because I didn't think I re-ruptured it, but during this whole process, I was very cautious. It was just anything that kind of went out of line. My heart started pounding again, and I was like, oh my God, I can't go back to the start, because you
Mm,
dedicate so much of your time and your life to this healing process. And it's so scary to know that just a slip and you can be back at the start. So I had a call with Tom, and he just had a check in, and he was like, I don't think it would have done anything. You were wearing your brace, and like you didn't hear anything, just rest. So I was in contact with Dr. Tom Cross through the process, but I didn't see him again until the 12-week result, when we
mm.
discussed my results.
Awesome. So during that 12 week, you've gone from 90 degrees back out to kind of weight bearing at 40 degrees, I guess, eventually,
Yep.
from 60 to 40 to 30. And then over that 12 weeks, straightening the knee slowly.
Yep.
Um,
That's right.
and then at the 12 week mark, your knees straight. How was your function when you sort of came out of the bracing protocol? Because I think a lot of people are very concerned that after that 12 weeks that your leg's going to be pencil thin and stiff um, and really functioning at quite a low level. What was your experience with the function of your leg as a whole and the knee after the 12 week bracing protocol?
Yeah. So I actually did the 6-week protocol.
Oh, 6 weeks. Okay.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
I was out about the 14th of May, and
Okay.
then I didn't get the results until the 16th of July. No, June. Sorry. So I have had a 4-week gap in between the coming full extension and then getting my results. And that's when I got out and I was full extension, and I was kind of limping around. And it's taken a long time to regain the muscle in my quad and to feel more strength and more stable in my leg as well. And it's just a slow process. So it's getting better every single day. And I am doing all my exercises. I'm working my quad. I'm doing my motion exercises to make sure that I'm not stiff. But yeah, it is a slow and kind of painful, kind of frustrating process, because I just want to be running around. But at the same time, like, it's amazing to see how far I have come from not being able to walk to slowly every single day building up my strength again. So
Yep.
it's looking good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that 12 week MRI, it's kind of known as the day in the cross bracing protocol, or ACL healing, because we kind of use that as a bit of a marker in the sand to see if the healing has failed or worked well or kind of partially worked. Um, that was only just a couple of weeks ago for you. Do you want to talk us through that period about getting the MRI and having the consultation with Tom and what he said after he looked at the MRI?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was the day. It had a lot of weight to it, and I was so positive the whole process. I'm like, yep, I feel like I'm going to heal. This is it. Like, I'm doing everything I can. And then a couple of days just before I had the interview with Dr. Tom Cross, I just started to freak out a little bit. I'm like, but like, what if I don't get the result I'm hoping for? And what's going to happen? Like, all of this whole journey, all of these emotions, like, what's going to be the outcome?
Mm,
But that's nothing you can control. You can only do the best you can and see what happens. But he looked, we were on FaceTime, and he was like, all right, let's have a look at your MRI. And then he was scrolling through it, and he was asking me all these questions. And I was just sitting there like, what's he going to say? Like, I'm so nervous. But we ended up, he was like, yep, it looked like it's reattached. And I'm like, that's good. And I was wondering, like, the quality of the attachment as well.
yes.
So I got a gold, oh no, I got a bronze. So there was about 10% off the original ACL. So it wasn't completely full, but it wasn't like a big hourglass, but it was quite like steady. 10 to 15% off. So it's a little bit, but it's still quite strong. That's my opinion.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And I think that that's one of people's major, or another one of the major concerns or criticisms of the ACL healing is how strong that ACL's going to be, and what does it actually mean to have a healed ACL. And we know that there is what's called the ACL OAS healing criteria, which is a type 1 heel, which is also known as a gold medal heel, I guess, to have a bit more with it and make it a little bit more meaningful to people, which is the top level heel where it's nice and thick and fully vascularized and not slack at all, or the type 2 or silver medal where it's a bit like a suspension bridge and it might be healed but a little bit lax as the fibers continue to heal, or a type 3 where it's kind of partially healed, which is a bronze medal, and then there's a 0, which is where the healing's failed. So you got the bronze medal. It was kind of partially healed, but still healing. And what did Tom tell you about how that healing would progress over the next 12 months and even beyond 12 months? What was his advice to you about that?
Yeah, so he was happy with the results for me because we've talked in depth about my lifestyle and what my goals are and what I want to get back to and what I expect of my knee in the future. And for me, he was like, "No, that's good. Like you don't have to see a surgeon. It's reattached itself. Probably don't go back to soccer or AFL. Your footy career's over." But I never played footy anyway. I played a little bit of soccer, but he knew from the start that that's something that I didn't really plan on going back to. I want to snowboard, I want to do yoga, and I want to be able to run pretty much and have like ease in my life without thinking too much about my knee. He said, all of those things you can do. I probably won't be doing any 180s over big jumps anymore, but if I go snowboarding, I'll just be cruising around. But he did say that like now that we've got the reattachment, that's like, the miracle baby. But now this next 9-month period is about like nurturing it, like helping it grow bigger, stronger, back into maybe a fully sized ACL.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a really important message for people to understand, in that almost nobody gets a gold medal at heel at that 12-week period, because the healing can take 12 months, or does take 12 months really, or even longer, can continue to heal up to 2 to 3 years post injury. So as you kind of mentioned, it's for this period you're in now, it's nurturing, but also um, not rushing back too quickly. And people probably need to understand that the cross bracing protocol or any bracing protocol is not necessarily an accelerated return to sport over surgery. So he cautioned you about that. Did he talk about when you might be able to return to snowboarding and return to sort of unregulated or unlimited activity?
Yeah. So I think in the next 2 months, maybe I'll be able to start to run, lightly jog and then run and go back to those activities. And then I think we're going to recheck at 12-month period to see snowboarding. But I'm not expecting it to go straight into snowboarding. That's a pretty long distance goal. But we'll check in at 12 months and see how I'm healing and my ability to engage in sports again. But right now I'm just focusing on getting back to yoga slowly and getting back to running a little bit as well. But I know it's going to be a very slow pace. Not go run 5 kilometers, but maybe go for a 200-meter jog. So it's very slow.
Yep, yep. And I think it's also important for people to know that the ACL or any soft tissue really does heal a little bit better under some load, I guess. So we want to be very careful in that really early peak period where the healing is kind of make or break in that 10 days to 12-week period. But then after that, you do actually need to put your knee through some load by seeing an expert physiotherapist who's got an interest in knees and understands those principles of soft tissue healing and loading, and to expose your knee to that gradually. I know it's a hypothetical question, Izzy, but for many people out there who are kind of thinking about their own decision making, you might have been in a similar situation that you were in. If you were a football player, or if say you were really keen on AFL or soccer or something, do you think with your consultations with Tom and your experience that you might have decided to go through the surgical route? Was that a big factor in your decision making process?
Yeah, I think so. I would have maybe considered surgery if I wanted to go straight back into soccer, or if I was really thinking about AFL, because he said straight from the start, like, maybe you won't have these options if you go through this way of healing. But because I was at the point in my life, like, I'm 28 now, I was kind of winding down from those sports. I'm okay to sacrifice them, but not everyone would be. And I know that surgery is still such a valid option for people who want to get back into high risk sports and to have that fast paced heal. Like, I've definitely thought about it, but the way that my life was going, I think this way just fit so well into how I wanted to heal and what was unfolding in my life. So it was definitely an option, and I don't discard it at all.
Yep, yep. And did Tom talk about your end type? Did he sort of forecast what type of heel you would end up with? Did he say you would end up with a silver, or do you think there's any chance of getting to the stage where ACL's back to kind of gold, almost back to its normal tautness and strength, or did he say that was unlikely for you?
He didn't really mention it. I think he just said it will continue to grow, but he didn't predict about where it's going to go. He
Yep,
said, "You're on the podium, you've got a bronze, like, let's just keep on going with it, and it will get thicker and stronger, yeah, as you heal."
yep. Okay.
We'll see if I
And
move up or stay bronze. I'm not too sure.
yeah, terrific. Okay, and so your plans now, you're planning to get back to snowboarding, obviously. You thought
Definitely.
about when that'll be back in Japan next year, or this Australian winter is out, I would assume still.
Yeah, not this season. I'm going to go look at the snow, and that's about it. And then I think next season I wanted to, maybe in March towards the end, so I could go see the cherry blossoms as well, and kind of finish that trip that I wanted to.
That'd be
But
nice.
if that doesn't work out and my ACL hasn't healed from that point, then I'll do the year after. I don't have hard and fast plans now, because I'm just kind of seeing where my knee takes me and building that strength back up. But I would love to get back on the snowboard.
And so you didn't end up having a consultation with a surgeon at all in Japan or Australia. You only saw doctors and physios, sports doctors and physios.
Yep. Yeah. No surgeons.
And how's the reaction of your friends and family been? I guess you've spoken to many people who've been through ACLs themselves, or many people offering their opinion on what you should be doing, or telling you that you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, or how's the sort of been from your own sort of um, own support network and friends and family, and
Yeah.
online, I guess, these days as well.
Yeah. Um, I asked so many people their opinion when I was umming and ahhing, and half of the people said surgery, and the other people said naturally. And I was so just in the middle, being like, I don't know who to believe, and I don't know whose advice to take. So everyone at the end of the day was just like, look, it's your decision.
Hmm.
Do what you want. But I did have some friends who were concerned about it working, and some friends concerned about, my emotional state at the end of the process if it didn't work, because I invested so much of me into it too. They'd be
Yep.
like, oh, imagine if you came home from Japan and it didn't work. And I'm like, yeah, I've already thought about that. But at the end of the day, my social network is so supportive that they are going to encourage any decision that I make and be by my side, which I am really lucky for. And then when I actually took the time to explain it to people who had never heard about it before or were skeptical, I was always met by like, oh, I never heard that, but it seems interesting, like good luck. It wasn't really like, what are you doing? It was always met with kindness, which is nice.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. And what sort of advice? I mean, we set up this podcast to particularly as a resource for people who are going through that similar journey that you went through in that sort of key decision-making period after an ACL. What sort of advice would you give somebody who's listening to this, who's at that period where they've just ruptured their ACL, they're sort of in that first 2 weeks post-injury and madly researching and asking lots of people for advice? What did you find really helpful for you that you thought maybe other people might benefit from knowing?
Good question. First thing is just to be really kind to yourself and to know that like there's so many options, but whatever decision you make, you can heal and you can get yourself through it if you put in the work and you stay consistent with nurturing and doing your physio exercises and everything. If you have surgery, if you don't have surgery, do your exercises and get that strength back. And I think just know what's best for you and don't follow anyone else. Don't do, oh, I got surgery because they got surgery, or I got the conservative way because they went the conservative way. Really think about like what sacrifices you're willing to make at the stage of your life that you're at now. Like we were talking about with AFL and soccer, if that's something really important to you, then maybe you will go surgery. Or if you're winding down and still wanting to just do yoga or running, and what fits for you and what's your values and what's your why. Like I think I went very introspective and thought about what aligns with me, and now I'm proud to say I did it in the way that felt comfortable for me and with a lot of support, but it was my decision.
Yeah, awesome. As it should be. And there's the shared decision making, which I know Jane Rooney has authored a paper on, and we're sort of moving away from this to just do exactly what the doctor tells you to do, because at the end of the day, it's your knee, it's your ACL, it's your journey that you're going to go through, whether it's surgical or conservative or bracing protocol or no bracing protocol. Get all the information you can, but at the end of the day, it's you that should make the decision yourself. But it sounds like you were presented with a bit more of an openly weighted option between conservative and surgery, which I'd like to think was partly because of the circumstances that you injured it and the care that you got in the early stage, because some of the newer papers that have been studied would have questioned over 700 people on what information they were presented after the ACL. The vast majority are saying that it's been heavily weighted in terms of pushing them into surgery. Surgery is presented as the best option, rather than a kind of a more open presentation that you're probably exposed to. Had you ever heard about non-surgical ACL or bracing protocols before it was presented to you by the guys at Niseko Physio or in Niseko?
No.
Didn't know much
No,
about
I had
it.
no idea about ACLs or knee injuries or that it could even happen to me. Like you said, like not thinking that I'd ever rupture an ACL and then it happens. But it was the doctor himself did say, look, there is a way that potentially you could avoid surgery. And I really valued that because he could have just said, you need surgery. He said, go see the physio and then make your decision, kind of. So it does lie in the hands of the people who are supporting you, because I had to really check my options and they were open for me, which is really nice.
All right. Well, that's been terrific. Thanks very much for your time this year. It's been really fascinating, and I'm sure inspirational and very helpful for other people who are going through your journey, or going through the journey that you've just been through, to help in their own decision making. So thank you very much for sharing that with us, and we hope you can get that heel upgraded to a silver and potentially gold over the next 12 months. And yeah, hope to see you back shredding the Japan in March, maybe.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bevan. I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Izzy. And that'll probably do us for another episode of the Knee Gurus, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you next time.
I appreciate the Niseko physio so much because they really did give me so much support. Even the receptionists were awesome, the physios were awesome, like the whole crew were really just there for me and what I was going through. And they dealt with all my, do I stay and do the cherry blossoms or do I go home, and my wishy-washiness, and they just helped put so much structure around me so I could feel safe enough in that healing journey.
The Knee Gurus, brought to you by Asia Physio, providing world-class physiotherapy care across Asia. Visit our clinics in Tokyo, Singapore, Niseko, Hakuba, Nozawa and Myokokogen.